In the Torah portion of Matos, we read of the death of Bilam. Chapter 31, verse 8, they killed Bilam, the son of Be'er, with a sword. What happened to him after he died? Where did his soul go? So Rabbi Isaac Luria, classic 16th century Kabbalist, said, listen to this, that Bilam was reincarnated into a stone, to a rock. Why? Because what was his mistake in his life? You know, these reincarnations are supposed to achieve tikkun, spiritual healing. What was his error? He abused his mouth. He tried to curse the Jewish people with his mouth. The correction for that was to be reincarnated into a rock. A rock, in Hebrew, the inanimate objects are called daimem. They're called silent. They just don't speak. So this reincarnation into a silent object achieved tikkun, spiritual healing, for his error of abusing his mouth in his lifetime. Chapter 31, verse 27. We read of the aftermath of the war against Midian. The Torah says, divide the plunder equally between the soldiers that went out to battle and the rest of the congregation. What is this idea of dividing plunder? So plunder is property that is acquired violently through war. Violence comes from the attribute of gevurah, of severity. And we all have that in our souls, and it can cause a lot of problems. But sometimes it's needed, especially when we start thinking and communicating ideas. Gevurah is necessary in your mind to clarify and to contextualize an idea. If you think of some fantastic innovation, some wonderful flash of inspiration, until you thrash it out, exactly where that idea applies and where it doesn't. What are the rules concerning its application? Until you have a clarification of the boundaries of an idea, it's meaningless. It could be a theory that doesn't hold any weight. So therefore, gevurah is needed in your mind. The second time you need it in an idea, with an idea, is when you start to explain and teach the idea. It's all very well being the great inspired genius, but if you can't explain your ideas to others, people will think you're mad. They won't attribute any genius to you. It's essential that you know how to communicate. And that also comes through gevurah. What word is correctly conveying the idea? What word is misleading your idea? Effective communication is gevurah of the mouth. And therefore the Torah says, divide the plunder. You have to divide your gevurah into two. If you want to be an effective communicator, you need gevurah in your mind, and you need it also in your mouth. Now let's move on to chapter 32, verse 33. We read that 3 tribes, well, to be precise, 2.5 tribes, the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and half the tribe of Manasseh, did not receive a portion in the land of Israel. They actually were given land on the other side of the Jordan, the kingdoms Sichon and Og and other areas. But they didn't get in the land of Israel. Why is this? Why did these tribes not have the merit to have part of the Holy Land as their inheritance? So the Kabbalists, particularly Rabbi Isaac Luria, give a phenomenal insight here. Listen to this. Rabbi Isaac Luria says that Reuven, Gad, and part of Manasseh were actually suffered from a spiritual blemish. And because of this blemish, they didn't have the merit to be in the land. What is the blemish? When Reuben was conceived, let's think back to that moment, on Jacob's wedding night, because we know that Reuben was conceived from the very first time that Jacob was intimate with Leah. What actually happened? We know that according to Jewish law, it's forbidden for a man to be intimate with his partner and to be thinking about someone else. But that's exactly what happened on Jacob's wedding night. He thought that he was with Rachel, when actually it was Leah. And that caused a spiritual blemish in the child, Reuben. And that is why Reuben, the tribe of Reuben, later didn't merit part of the land of Israel. What happened with Gad, the tribe of Gad? So actually, although this is not so well known, a similar thing happened. If we go back to Genesis chapter 30, verse 9, it says that Leah took her maid Zilpah and gave her to Jacob. Note that there was no discussion about this. Jacob didn't know about it. When Sarah gave her handmaid Hagar to Abraham, the Torah says that they discussed it, chapter 16, verse 2. Please come to my handmaid. But Leah didn't mention it to Jacob. And that explains, Rabbi Isaac Luria, means that Jacob didn't actually know who his partner was. He was given Zilpah, but he thought it was Bilhah. And then again, he made this error of thinking of the wrong person when he was intimate with her. And that caused a spiritual blemish in the tribe in Gad, which later was the reason that he didn't inherit part of the land. Why does this particular spiritual blemish cause the result that they didn't get any land? So it's very interesting. Rabbi Menachem Nazare Defano, Italian Kabbalist, says a very similar insight. And he explains that Jacob's mind was not conscious of his partner. And therefore, these tribes didn't merit to get part of the land of Israel, of which it is said, that the eyes of God are on it from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. God is always conscious of the land of Israel. And therefore, it was only inherited by the tribes of whom their conception was a conscious act. The final half-tribe, the half-tribe of Manasseh, why is there only half a tribe? Well, Manasseh was the child of Joseph, and Joseph's wife was actually Asnas, who, according to the Medrash, was the child of Dinah and Shechem. When Dinah was abducted by Shechem, she conceived, and she later gave birth to this girl who married Joseph. So there's a blemish there, but only on the mother's side, not on the father's side, and that is why half the tribe of Manasseh was given the portion of the land and half wasn't, because there was only half a blemish. Let's move forward to the Torah portion of Masei, which means Masei means journeys. The Baal Shem Tov taught that the 42 journeys recorded here in the Torah portion of Masei represent the ups and downs of life. Our life, we go through different experiences, some positive, some negative, and we should learn from all of them. How do you know that even the negative journeys have some positive side to them? So the Degel Machne Ephraim, who was one of the grandson of the Baal Shem Tov, explained on verse 17, it says they camped in Kivrot HaTa'ava, which literally means the graves of craving. And there they buried the people who had craved. This was obviously a negative journey, and yet it's included in the 42. So we learn from there that even the negative parts of life, it's all part of one big journey. But does that mean that the negative things are predestined? I mean, there's a journey written here which was a disaster, and it's part of the Torah. Are our errors inevitable? The answer is, of course not. Of course they're not. It's up to us to choose whether we make each journey a positive one or a negative one. God grants us the wisdom and insight to make every journey positive, and it's up to us to take advantage of that inner wisdom, that inner intuition, and make each journey positive. So the spiritual lesson for this week is to realize that every stage of life you might find an obstacle or some resistance. And however annoying that obstacle is, you should realize, and however devastating it might be to you, you should realize that it's there for a good reason. It's to call forth from you fresh powers, fresh energies that you didn't know you had, that are essential for your growth. So be thankful for them and realize that all of our journeys are essential. There are no shortcuts. Thank you for joining us. Next week, Torah in 10. Please join us again.